I was told there was no room this year for me and my son at Christmas dinner. But my brother's new girlfriend, and her two friends, were there with name cards. I didn't say a word. I just took the envelope with the $5,000 check. When my mother found out, she ran after me and shouted. I didn't even know there was going to be a Christmas dinner this year. I found out by accident when my son Ethan overheard my brother asking my mom over the speakerphone to reserve seats for him and his new girlfriend. Mom laughed and said she had already printed the place cards. Ethan asked if we were going, and I said I'd check. So I called her. She was surprised I even asked. She said it was no big deal this year and that there wasn't enough room for everyone. By everyone, she meant me and my son. I thought that was strange. I had never been excluded before. Not even when I was broke and couldn't bring gifts, or when I was lonely and felt awkward among couples. I asked her if she was sure. She said she didn't want me to feel bad, but my brother's girlfriend was bringing two of her friends because they had nowhere else to go, and that was that. I said it was fine. I hung up. I didn't cry, but I stared at the wall for a long time. Ethan didn't ask again, but that week I saw him playing with his Christmas tie several times. Then, around noon on Christmas Day, my mom texted me. She sent a photo of the table. There was my brother, his girlfriend, her two random friends, my cousins, my aunt. Everyone was smiling around a big baked dish. There were name cards on each plate. I zoomed in on the photo. My brother's girlfriends had their places. But Ethan and me? Nowhere. But then I saw it. On one of the places was an envelope with my name on it. I don't know why, but I grabbed my keys. I told Ethan we were going for a walk. I didn't explain anything, but he didn't say anything and just took his jacket. When I arrived, no one even noticed me at first. My mother's eyes widened when she saw me at the door. She started to say something, but I walked straight to the table and took the envelope with my name on it. Inside was a check for $5,000. I smiled and turned to leave. My mother called me. Then she ran after me. She shouted that she didn't mean this, and that she didn't think I would really come. I was already at the car door when she said something that made me stop. She said that if I took the money, I would be choosing to leave my family. I looked back at her. She was standing there in the cold without a coat, holding a glass of wine, looking as if she couldn't believe I was really leaving. I didn't say anything. I got in the car. And then I decided that they had just made the worst decision of their lives. I didn't go home. I drove around town for a while, trying to figure out what to do. My son sat quietly in the back seat, pretending not to notice how tense I was. Then he asked if we could stop at a restaurant and watch a movie at home. It hurt more than anything in the world. He had grown accustomed to being second in this family. That night, I promised myself that it would never happen again. What they forgot was that I had been holding everything together for years. I helped my mom refinance her mortgage when she was about to lose her house. I co-signed the loan and worked out a deal with the bank. She still owes on that loan. For the past 2 years, I've been paying for my aunt's car insurance because she couldn't afford the premiums. She cried to me that she would lose her license and that it would ruin her job. And my brother? He borrowed thousands from me when his business went bankrupt. I even helped him get out of tax trouble. Without me, the tax office would have frozen his accounts. They took advantage of me. They thought I would always quietly patch up their lives while they threw parties I wasn't invited to. The first thing I did was get the folder with the documents. I called the bank and said I was removing myself as guarantor on my mother's mortgage. I didn't need to explain why. The bank made it clear that they would review her risk. The next morning, she called me, probably after receiving the message. I didn't answer. Instead, she sent a text asking if I was angry about Christmas and if I was overreacting. Then my aunt called. The insurance had been cancelled. She was panicking because she had to renew the contract and suddenly no one was paying. A few days later, my brother wrote to ask if I knew why the tax office had sent more letters. His payment plan had been changed because I had negotiated it, and now the payments were higher. I didn't answer anyone. Instead, I took Ethan out to dinner, just the two of us. A week passed before my mother came to my house. She showed up acting casual, with a bottle of wine, and asked if we could talk. I stood in the doorway. She asked why I was doing this. She said it was just a misunderstanding, that Christmas wasn't such a big deal, and that I had humiliated her by running out of the house like that. I told her that we weren't wanted and that I wasn't financing families that had no place for me and my son. Then she changed her tone. She said I was petty and hurtful to people who relied on me, that I didn't think about family. I reminded her that the family doesn't think about me. She tried to make me feel guilty by mentioning the $5,000 check. I said it was the last cent they would ever get from me, and that it was worth every penny. She left angry. But that wasn't the end of it. I wasn't done yet. In the second week, everything started to fall apart for them. My mother's mortgage was re-evaluated without my name as a co-signer, and, unsurprisingly, she was no longer eligible for the same rate. She had to either pay higher monthly payments or refinance the loan entirely, which was impossible with her credit history. She called me 3 times a day. I ignored all her calls, but she left voicemails. At first, she pretended to be concerned about my mental state, then accused me of trying to bankrupt her, and then cried that she might lose her house. Next was my aunt. Her car insurance had completely expired. She was pulled over, her car was impounded, and her license was revoked for not having proof of insurance. She wrote to me saying she didn't understand why I did that to her, because she had always protected me. She never protected me. I remember how she often joined in on family jokes about me being a single mom who works too much to have a personal life. Then my brother. At first he didn't even write to me. I guess he thought things would calm down, but I got a letter from his accountant. It turns out that the tax plan I helped put together was flagged because my name was listed as the contact person, and now that I'm gone, his penalties have doubled. I heard from someone that his girlfriend wasn't thrilled about the sudden financial problems. She bragged about the trip they were planning. By the end of the month, she had dumped him. Meanwhile, I was spending time with Ethan. In those weeks, we went out more than we had in months. I wasn't working overtime to pay someone else's bills anymore. At first, it felt wrong. I was so used to putting them first. Then the pleas started. First, my aunt showed up and practically moved into my porch, claiming she couldn't get to work without a car. I didn't open the door. Then my mom sent a long text saying that maybe she had been too harsh at Christmas, but I was going too far. She said that if the house was sold, it would be on my conscience. On my conscience. I asked her where her conscience was when my son was sitting at home in his Christmas sweater, wondering why no one wanted him at the family table. There was no answer. But I wasn't done yet. They still had something to lose. My brother had one more thing he didn't know I had control over. A business lease. I signed it with him when his credit rating was too low. I made the call. The lease was terminated early. I waited. 3 days later, he showed up at my work. And that's when I saw my brother beg for the first time. I was sitting at my desk when my secretary called and said there was a man downstairs who said he was family. I knew immediately. I went out into the lobby, and there he was, looking like he hadn't slept. No girlfriend on his arm, no bragging. He asked to talk in private. I said we could talk there. He got straight to the point. He said he knew I was pulling strings to punish him. He said his business was on the brink and if the lease was cancelled, he would have to close down completely. I didn't say anything. I let him finish. He confessed that he didn't want me to come for Christmas because his girlfriend didn't like me. She thought I was too serious and might cause an awkward situation. That's what it all came down to. I was inconvenient. So they made room for her and her 2 worthless friends, but not for me and my son. He even had the nerve to say it was nothing personal. I told him the lease was up. He asked me to reconsider, at least for a few months. He said he would give me my money back. I reminded him I had heard that before. He finally lost it and said I was acting like a bitter, lonely woman who wanted to drag everyone down with her. I smiled. Then I told him that the only thing bitter about me was that I had once thought this family deserved my help. I left. That night, my mother wrote to me. My brother had told her everything. She sent a long, rambling text about family, forgiveness, how I wasn't like that before. She added how hard it was for a mother to see her children fighting. I replied with one sentence. You made it clear who your family is. Enjoy them. I didn't hear from her for a week. Then she showed up at my door uninvited when Ethan was home. She asked to come in. I stayed outside with her. She said she was sorry, but that I was destroying the family. She said my son would regret having a mother who held a grudge. Then she said something I didn't expect. She said that maybe Ethan's father knew what he was doing when he left. I swear, when she said that, the air froze. I told her to leave. She said she didn't mean yes, but I was already in the house and closing the door. That was the last straw. I promised myself that I would do everything I could to make each of them feel my absence in their lives. That night, I made a list. Everything I had ever done for them. All the bills I had paid, all the loans I had sold, all the bills I was still tied to. I was slowly distancing myself from them. Now I was severing all ties. I crossed my name off my mom's emergency contacts on her medical card. She always said no one else understood her condition. That wasn't my problem anymore. I sent an official letter to my aunt confirming that I would no longer be paying her phone bill. She had been using my family plan for 5 years. I gave her 30 days to transfer her number or lose it. I cancelled the credit card my brother had been secretly using under my account. He thought I hadn't noticed. With each step, I felt lighter. Then the messages started coming in. My aunt called and cried, saying she was missing work because she couldn't organize anything without her phone. My brother sent me a bunch of messages saying I was maliciously ruining his life. My mom tried to call and come over again. I didn't answer. I didn't even recognize them. Or maybe I finally did. But then, about 2 weeks later, it got even worse. Ethan came home from school looking miserable. I asked him what was wrong, and after a long hesitation, he told me that my cousin had been spreading rumors about him, that his father never wanted him, and his mother was crazy and mean. He said they even joked that Ethan was lucky his father ran away. I saw red. I immediately wrote to my mother. I told her it was over. Forever. That she could enjoy what was left of the family she had chosen over us. She replied once, saying that I was overreacting and needed therapy. That was it. She never apologized. Neither did my brother or my aunt. So I blocked all their numbers. Then I decided that the final step was not just to cut off contact with them. I had to make sure they never had access to me or my son again. I hired a lawyer. The lawyer helped me draft formal letters demanding that they cease all contact. I wasn't playing games anymore. Any further contact, whether direct or through someone else, would be considered harassment. But I didn't stop there. I rewrote my will. I made sure that not a penny of my property, savings, or home would go to them if anything happened to me. Everything was blocked in a trust in Ethan's name, and the executor was a man who knew the whole story. I updated my emergency contacts at work. I removed them from my insurance beneficiaries. I removed them from every part of my life where they had been quietly feeding off my existence. Then I changed my phone number. Ethan and I started over. New habits. New friends. Months passed before I heard indirect rumors from someone. A family friend mentioned that my mom was telling people I had gone crazy, that I had turned my back on my family. My brother lost his business space and ended up taking a job he used to laugh at. My aunt's car never made it out of impound. But the worst part. My mother's house. She lost it. Without me, she couldn't make the new mortgage payments. She had to move into a cramped apartment with my aunt. No one helped them. I used to be the one who pulled everyone out of trouble. Now there's no one left. I don't regret a single second. Especially after what they said about my son. Some people think that family is forever. But a family that spits on your child, that chooses strangers over you, that tries to make you feel guilty and serve them, that's not a family. Ethan is happier now. So am I. And the $5,000 check. I framed it. Hung it in my home office. A reminder of the day they paid me to leave. Best deal I ever made.